Hello and let's welcome Canadian band Magister Dixit. What Master said, or Master says something in that direction, and this one's called Their Blood, Their Sweat, Their Tears. Sixth album by this Canadian band, actually from Quebec. That is supposed to be, I guess, the French part of Canada. I'm not exactly totally sure about it, but doesn't matter. Who gives goddamn rat's ass about my geography knowledge. This is, like I said, the sixth band in more than 20 years. For me, this band has totally got under the radar, so to speak, because starting in 1997, this is the first year I actually even hear about the band, and now it's time for the sixth album. This one was actually kind of founded through Rauta channel. One of the viewers actually mentioned this band, so thank you for that. It's nice to know that somebody actually watches the channel with, you know, bands and keep sending them for review. Released by Scum Productions. This is how the CD looks like. It's actually CDR, by the way, I don't know why. And here is the insides. As you can see, all the lyrics are on these threefold digipack pages, kind of a small font. They are, however, in English, so you don't have to learn French in order to enjoy the lyrics here. Now, music-wise, Magister Dixit is kind of a weird, or in a way, kind of a guest, or not guest, but a person you kind of know but you don't. There's probably a better word for that, but my lack of English doesn't allow me to remember that word. However, this is something that kind of likes familiar in a way. That's probably the word I should be using. And because this reminds me of early Emperor, not exactly the 7-inch time or, you know, the in the Nightside Eclipse era, but the stuff that coming right after it. Emperor. Anyway, bad jokes ahead. So lots of synths, fast tempo, lots of melodic parts, and kind of like overall chaos, which is just, you know, coming through and leaving nothing but chaos and mess and dead bodies behind. So kind of like Emperor, but then again not, because this also reminds me of say Limbonic Art and Marduk. But each of these bands, these kind of classic 19th era bands, are not exactly close relatives to this one, and that is actually where Magister Dixit's strength lies within. I try to explain. So while Emperor is the one that kind of brings to these, you know, majestic keyboards and melodies to the table, and, you know, leaves it there, and then goes to some progressive landscapes and leaves people astounded like, what just happened? Now Marduk steps in and brings some bullet belts, tanks, weaponry, guns, and says like, okay, but we're gonna go more fast forward. And Magister Dixit is like, okay, you're maybe a little bit too straightforward. We're not that warlike, even though we want to go a little bit more violent and not as progressive as Emperor. Then Limbonic Art comes in and says, oh, it's all about cosmos and, you know, space and keyboards. Lots of keyboards. Add keyboards to every song, every part. And don't forget to have those melodies. Bye. And then Magister Dixit is like, okay, let's start putting this puzzle together. Let's have the Emperor as the frame line here. Let's add some Marduk parts, because we don't want to go as this progressive sissy-ass world of Emperor, the later years. And then also let's just add some Limbonic Art to the soup, and let's start brewing. And after spending some time in the oven, we take it out, and voila, that's where we have this sixth album by Magister Dixit. Now, well, there are some problems, like going overboard sometimes with chaos and especially the use of keyboards. This album is kind of bringing the 90s magic vibe there, with this kind of emperor-esque feeling to this album. 54 minutes might be a little bit too much, at least in my taste, because some of the songs are maybe a little bit too lengthy. So some editing, in my opinion, should have been done. Maybe 40-45 minutes would be the sweet spot for this kind of stuff, because after that, this kind of repetition gets a little bit tiresome. Just like my some opinion videos, which are way too lengthy, I know that. So, like I said, this album has some great elements, but they are not always greatly executed. Of course, this is more on the good side rather than mediocre side, but still, there are some minor flaws which I had a little bit trouble getting over. So while I could recommend this to people who, say, enjoy Emperor and to some extent Marduk and Limbodyguard, which are not close relatives to this one, but have some similarities, this is something that I kind of, totally go, all in all for the next month or year, saying how this is the greatest album to come this spring. No, because it is not. But like I said, this is more to be a likable album than just like, oh, forget about it, they don't know how to do music. So what in my opinion, would be or should be happening is that in a couple of years, maybe the next album even, Magister Dixit will actually hone and, perfect the music they are creating here, because they are on the right track. But there are some minor things which kinda makes this not great. So one of the reasons is the production is quite thin. It's not very powerful. Meanwhile, I like the guitar leads, for example, on the first track, which are, just nicely doing with, fast tempo, aggressiveness, with the drummer and all that stuff. Not to mention the raspy vocals, which is good. But for example, the main guitar, the rhythm guitar, is kind of like singing on the background, which is not a good thing, because now it feels like the drums and the lead guitars and maybe even the synths are dominating the field, and it kind of leaves the guitar way too little space to move and, make a difference. So maybe there's a little bit too much everything, like in your favorite pizza. Well, that's not your favorite pizza if that's too much. But what I'm trying to say here is that maybe just a little too much ingredients there, because sometimes less is actually better. I'm not gonna say more because someone is gonna play that Yngwie J. Malmsteen quote here, where it's less is never more, more is always more. How can less be more? Oh. Well, anyway, for those who are into synth-filled melodic black metal with all its majesty, you go check out Magister Dixit, and there's a good chance you won't be disappointed, especially if you like the Canadian vibe. Canucks know it best. That's all from Rauta. See you soon with more stuff to come your way.